yeah.
Yeah, okay, quarter after 2.
Yeah.
Quarter after 3. I'll come back before, like, say, you'll be done about 3:15?
Yeah, well, if you want to, why don't you watch the demo? Put the stuff on the floor and you can take it to the car afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Pardon?
You got the computer plugged into it for
Well, I'm going to demonstrate control of the radio from the computer if I can get the control program working. There's no guarantee of that. Okay, well, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Adam. The call sign is A7OJ, and I'm going to give a little demonstration of the DSP-related features on the IC7600. The IC7600 is the successor to the Icom 756 Pro line. The major differences between the 7600 and its predecessors are the 7600 has a more elegant and better receiver architecture. Instead of being triple conversion, it's double conversion. It goes straight from the 64 megahertz first IF to the 36 kilohertz second IF without any other conversions in between, so it'll have it's eliminated a number of spurious responses and other issues. The DSP is a lot more powerful than it was in the 756 Pro 3. Now the DSP also runs the noise blanker and the scope. The display is larger. This is a 5-inch diagonal display which includes the S meter and a better spectrum scope with a lot more a much wider adjustment range, and in the smallest span, 2.5 kilohertz. The spectrum scope can actually be used for analyzing the spectral content of a single incoming signal. So if you want to look at the frequency response of a distant SSB station, you can, using the spectrum scope. All the filtering in the receiver, all the filtering, the AGC, the notch filters, demodulation, and audio management tasks are done in the DSP, and in the transmitter likewise all the modulation, filtering, audio management, and in CW mode code generation, also in RTTY and PSK modes, the generation of the modulating signal, all that is done in the DSP. The radio also incorporates a display, a decoder and a text display for RTTY and PSK, so you can use the radio as a self-contained PSK and RTTY terminal by plugging a keyboard into the USB jack on the front panel and setting the radio up to display the transmitted and received text. What you're seeing now is just garbage which is displayed as text, but if you had a valid RTTY signal, you'd see a little spectral display and a little waterfall here as a tuning aid, and you'd see the received text. You'd also see the text that you transmit from the keyboard. So you can actually do RTTY and PSK without using a computer. Same thing on PSK. You have the vector scope, a spectral display, and incoming and outgoing text. The DSP filtering in the 7600 is very sharp. The filters have continuously variable bandwidth from 50 Hz all the way to 3600 Hz. There are 3 default filter settings for each mode. For SSB there's 3 kilohertz, 2.4 kilohertz, and Well, they got it all messed up here. 3 kilohertz, 2.4 and 1.8 kilohertz. But you can adjust the bandwidth continuously in any of the 3 selections. So you can set up the 3 filters to whatever bandwidth you normally use. There are a number of different ways of configuring the filters. Again, this is all done in the DSP. You can have a sharp or soft shape factor. Soft widens out the skirts, sharp narrows up the skirts of the filter. Sharp is useful when there's a lot of adjacent channel interference, but soft provides for slightly more pleasant listening. There are 3 roofing filters, 15, 6 and 3 kilohertz, which are assignable to each of the 3 bandwidth selections. So you can use the 15 kilohertz filter for the widest IF bandwidth, and the 6 for the 2.4 and the 3 for the 1.8, for example, and you can set it up whichever way you find most useful. The purpose of the roofing filters, they're not selectivity filters. The purpose of the roofing filters is to suppress the image response of the second mixer, and also to protect the second mixer and the analog to digital converter from strong out-of-band signals, which might otherwise get through and overload the analog to digital converter. The belief that the roofing filters provide selectivity is actually a misconception. In addition to the IF filters, there's a very effective notch filter. I can demonstrate that to you. If I turn on the calibration marker, we have now, this is simulating a very strong interfering carrier. I can either silence it with the auto notch. What the auto notch does is it just kills the audio of single or multiple tones, but it doesn't take it out of the AGC, so it's still on the S meter. It's still swamping the receiver. If I want to get rid of the tone completely so that it doesn't desense the receiver, I can tune it out with the manual notch. You can see that the signal is not only gone from the audio, it's gone from the IF, and the receiver noise has come back, meaning that the receiver has recovered its full sensitivity. There is a competing radio which has a manual notch, and that radio doesn't do this. It leaves the signal in the IF, even though the manual notch removes it from the audio. This is a very strong feature of these radios. You can also use the twin passband tuning. Okay, you can use the twin passband tuning in the same way. What the twin passband tuning does is it allows you to move the upper and lower flanks of the filter passband independently of each other. So if you've got QRM on both sides, you can turn both passband tuning controls to get rid of the interference. This is very effective. Let's turn this off. Right now there's no antenna connected to the radio, so the only signal I can use is the calibration marker. But for CW, the basic filter bandwidths are 250, 1.2, 500 and 250. Again, these filter bandwidths can be varied to suit your needs. You can actually get the CW filter down as narrow as 50 Hertz, and it still doesn't ring. There's another little trick. When you have a CW filter bandwidth, if you have a CW filter bandwidth greater than 500 Hertz, the shape factor of the filter has a certain value. The skirts have a certain width. Now, if you select 500 or less, this is what will happen. You get a little icon showing you get a little BPF icon showing here, bandpass filter. Well, strictly speaking, they're all bandpass filters, but the BPF icon means that there's been a sharp decrease in the shape factor. The filter has suddenly become sharper for all bandwidths less than 500 Hertz. So this will help in eliminating adjacent channel interference. But if you want a slightly softer filter, there's a trick you can use. You can select the 1.2K filter and crank it down with the passband tuning. Then you get a 500 Hertz wide filter without the BPF, so it's a softer filter. You can also play with the sharp and soft settings, so you can find a filter combination which is comfortable. And the filter parameters are all displayed. Bandwidth, the shift. You can use the two passband tuning controls as an IF shift by grabbing them and turning them in the same number of steps in the same direction. So I mean, these are advantages that you get with DSP filters which you can't get even with a bank of crystal filters at almost any price. Although some of the older radios with dual IFs and crystal filters have passband tuning which works quite well. In addition to all the IF features, for CW, this radio has an audio peak filter. See if I can do something with it. The audio peak filter has three different settings, wide, medium and narrow. Within this noisy environment I can't really demonstrate it very well, but what it does is it's a post-AGC filter which narrows the bandwidth of the audio chain after the demodulator. It will improve the signal-to-noise ratio of a CW signal. So you can use that in conjunction with the IF filters to bring the CW signal up, a weak CW signal up out of the noise. Unfortunately, I can't really demo that here because I don't have a weak enough signal to work with. For RTTY, there's another, in the RTTY mode, there's a twin peak filter. Now you can see the RTTY display there. It's actually displaying the tone from the calibration marker. If there were a RTTY signal here, you'd see the two tones with a shift. And the twin peak filter is a pair of audio filters in the DSP which sharpen up the audio channels for the marking and spacing tones, thereby improving the signal-to-noise ratio and giving you a better RTTY decoding on a noisy band. I think this is a feature unique to the Icom radios. The 7600 also has a complete set of adjustments for equalization adjustments and audio bandwidth adjustments for receive and transmit on all modes. So for SSB, for example, you can either set up a low pass and a high pass filter, or you have treble and bass equalization to adjust the tone at both ends of the audio spectrum on all modes. The same thing on transmit. There's no on transmit you can adjust the treble and bass equalization and the lower and upper limits of the transmitted bandwidth. At the low end there are 4 steps: 100, 200, 300 and 500 hertz. And the high end 2500, 2700 and 2900. There's no problem getting back to the original factory settings. There's a default key on every menu. So if you want to get back to square one, you just hit default.
Adam, what microphone do you use with it at home?
Oh, I use a Heil PR781. What stock mic are you using? The stock mic with the radio. You have a 7600 or? Okay. Yeah, I'm a bit prejudiced. I don't like electret mics, so the stock mic is an electret. I would recommend you go over to the Heil stand and look at their mics. The PR781 is one of their nicer ones. It's I think it's $179, and I think you'll like it. You can actually try out the mics on the Heil at the Heil booth. He has an amplifier there, so you can try out individual mics. Well, no, it would be with a speaker and amplifier. Do you live in Vancouver?
No, Salt Spring. Salt Spring Island.
I was going to suggest that, you know, if you can find your way to the North Shore, you can try out my mic. Okay. Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay.
You learned a lot, actually. Mine's new, so I only know how to set
No, I hope you picked up a few tricks.
You're with Icom, sir?
Pardon?
You're with Icom?
I don't work for Icom, but I'm helping out. I'm just demonstrating this radio.
Oh, okay. I need to find somebody who could answer.
You need some of the Icom people.
Don't worry, I'll find one.
This tall gentleman at the end there is
Yeah,
Paul.
he's talking to somebody.
There he is. Yeah, hi. Do you have any questions?
Basically like a Pro 4, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it a Pro 4. It's inside. It's a totally different design. The front end has some similarities, but the IF scheme and the DSP and the way the scope is run are totally different. Do you have one of the Pro Series radios?
No, I've got the 746 before the Pro.
Oh, the old 746.
I'm happy with it.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine.
But, you know, this will probably be my next radio.
I can recommend it. I have one of these and a 7700, and I think at its price level, this is a very good choice.
Does it come with the power supply right now? Is that
The
a
power
special?
supply is extra, but then you can use any 13.8 volt 25 amp power supply.
Sometimes it's a special they're included.
I'm not sure if they're doing that now. But it's possible the dealers here are.
Now, what can I use the USB port for?
Okay,
Why
well,
would that be useful with this?
okay, well, there's a USB port at the back for connecting a computer. I was struggling with trying to get the damn program running. It's the same old story.
Whose program is it?
It's DX Lab. I've got a COM port issue which I might be able to resolve. If I do that,
They can't make their own software to
no. Yes, they do. There's the RSBA1 software package, which is
Maybe
remote
that's what
control
maybe
software.
That's what you should be.
I'm not running that. I'm not running that because it's the DX Lab is easier to set up for my demo. The front panel USB socket you can use for two purposes. One is you connect a keyboard or you connect a keyboard
Oh,
for
a USB
for RTTY
keyboard
and
for RTTY right on the screen.
for RTTY and PSK. Yeah, something you couldn't do with the Pro 3. Otherwise, you can plug in a thumb drive.
Oh, so I could save my favorite parameters on the thumb drive and then load them when I want to use a certain.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Rather than load them onto a computer.
Yeah, I'll show you how you do it.
If I want to go to RTTY, it's got different levels for PSK or different levels for. Side
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the idea?
Yeah. Oh, you're Pete.
Yes.
I'm Adam, the A7OJ.
Nice to meet you. Thanks.
Okay, that's exactly the whole idea. I'll show you how to do this. So let's say you want to save your settings. Okay, so you put the thumb drive in, you select settings. Okay, that's your driver file settings. Now, let's see. Okay, you want to save your settings, so we'll hit save. It says, are you sure you want to save this? Well, let's save it. Okay, it saves and creates a file name.
You get the thumb drive from Icom included with the radio? Or?
Not included with the radio. I got this one because Paul, the Icom rep in Vancouver, sent me some software that happened to be on that thumb drive. So let's see, save. If I want to save the file, load the file rather, I hit load, and there's my file with the date and the size of the file. So if I want to load, I just press the load key and it'll write the settings back into the radio. I won't do that now because there's no point.
You can have many files and pick which one you want to load.
Yeah, exactly. You can have as many settings as your thumb drive will take. And then you can also use the thumb drive to format the radio. I didn't want to format it. You can format it, but you select. But I don't want to do that because there are things on that drive I don't want to destroy. Firmware update. Okay, it wants you to read this disclaimer, say OK, and then do a firmware update. It won't do it because I don't have the required file on the on this thumb drive. But all you have to ensure when you're doing a firmware update is that the power doesn't get interrupted during the update. Otherwise, you'll.
Where do you get firmware updates from the Icom website?
From the Icom Japan English language website, the world website. USB unmount. Unmount tells them I want to remove the thumb drive. So that's what that USB socket is for. It's pretty useful. I'll try and bring up another.
It's got all the filters in there already. You can't even buy extra filters.
You can't buy extra filters. It's a point I wanted to make.
Filters
It's all digital filtering. All the filters that I showed there, which you probably saw me going through, those are all in the DSP. There are 3 roofing filters which are analog MCF monolithic crystal filters, but they don't ever have to be changed. It's the DX Lab suite, DX Lab launcher. Maybe it'll talk to me now. Yes. It might even work. I think I had the wrong port because no, it doesn't like my choice of port. Configure ports.
Right now you're at 11.
I'm
That's the one it doesn't want.
It's the one it doesn't want for some reason.
Why don't you just change the port number and see if it'll.
Let's see. I'd have to know what port my my USB is before I can do that. I have to know what port we got assigned. This is what by the way, the drivers, the USB drivers for the radios are written by Icom. They consist of drivers supplied by the chips for audio transfer and data transfer to the USB. Oh, okay. Let's see what port we're on there. COM15. Ah, okay. What I have to do is change this to COM15. That's all we need. Yeah, it's working. Okay, so if I want to change the frequency, I can. See, the frequency will change in sync with the program. And likewise, if I turn the knob on the radio, it's going to update the program. So that's working. This is a very, hey!
I just wanted to say quickly hello, everybody, and let you get back to all your music. It was great to see you.
Please stick around.
Sure. Be happy to.
Bit muffin, as they say.
Okay.
Thanks for all the support.
Happy to do it.
Without you confirming that you got my back, I would sometimes be in tears.
Yeah, no problem. But I'll stop back. I'm going to run around. I have to meet someone, but I wanted to say hello while you're still doing your demo here.
It's really wonderful to
But I'll
see
be
you.
back. Wonderful to see you.
Okay, Jim. Take care. I'll see you shortly.
Sorry about that.
No, Jim is a friend and colleague, and I didn't introduce you guys.
That's okay.
Uh,
I'm pretty much finished anyway. You showed me everything I wanted to see.
okay, no, if you have any more questions.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a wonderful capability. Wonderful, absolutely.
There may be a special if you shop around the dealers and if you feel like spending money, it's going to be at about, you might find one for 3.3. Yeah.
Who's got that? No, who's got
Okay. So you have to check all the dealers. I don't know for certain. But the lowest I heard was trading at 3.5 before they shut it. But that's not a clear one for the yen, definitely yen. Yeah, the yen has been appreciated by about 20% vis-a-vis the dollar.
Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
Thanks for answering my questions.
There's on the other group, there's a group called Icom A7OJ. I'm the moderator of the panel. Please join me.
I'll look for you there. I'll remind you.
Yeah, you all will be on the line.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
That's DX Lab Commander I've got hooked up.
Yeah, I got the same software in my ESA.
Pardon?
I've got the same software for my ESA.
Finally got it working because I had the wrong cord on. My fault.
Radio.
Yeah, it's the current model in this series. It's the successor to the 756 Pro series.
What do you know about it in terms of quality, people like it?
It seems to be popular. I'm a moderator on the reflector, the young group associated with the 7600, and we see very few complaints. People that have a general